Slowly, the lights come up on a lone figure, sitting in a study, writing a memoir. The butler begins his narration of a young woman's life in a great house.
She awoke in the Grecian temple, submerged in the lake, wrapped in the vibrant forest of unnatural hue. The marble oasis of time, spiraling and twirling water hourglasses that turned each minute throughout the day. She was cloaked in moss fabric, and her hair etched in holly branches, forming a crown that stretched into the sky more than 2 feet high. Her hands were bejeweled with sea pearls, opera gloves that enveloped her bosom. And when she spoke, he appeared to her. Underwater, the hazelnut fire burned, encased in prismatic spheres, while reflective giant snowflakes floated in her view. When she emerged, the sky aquamarine hedges moved upon her command. The edifice itself is strangely unremarkable, perhaps a remnant from another era, something passed down over generations as water flowed from its walls, trickling the shimmer to the floor below. As with every morning, he waited for her in his dignified manner. The infinite breeding of most all royalty ran through his blood. Tall, broad, with an auburn mane that complemented his beard and moustache. He touched his ritualistic coffee, enrobed in fine imported porcelain with gold banding, to his lips. His fine, unblemished lips, lips that had only known hers. His lips only she adored, his sensuality, the longing for her, and only her. He reclined in his daybed to read the Morning Post and observed her, as only he could, at her waking. "Come to me, my love," he said to her in his unparalleled vocality. He spoke to her calmly, in a cadence that a king might address his courtiers. He summoned her to it. She approached him silently, in a feline manner, and together in their rustic microfiber synthetic robes, embraced. Their embrace lasted approximately 2 hours and 4 minutes, until Morpheus took them from the door. Alas, there was no equal, human or other, that could behold such a love in such a foreign surrounding. Their superiority to all natural things would lead to their own eventual demise. Perhaps they parted to pursue lesser love, lesser lives, lesser fortune. No world substantial enough for the intellectual and mutual integrity that they each possessed. And to what end? Her secret desires remained within the walls of that house, ravaged now by time and weather. Each year a stone falls, a tree decays, yet the water persists, their mutual tears echoing the pallet of her despair. Had I not seen them for myself, I should not make good account of them. On certain days she reads the words of many books, and her eyes mimicked the books of great authors. It is here our story begins. Autumn, the year 1996, France, the great house on the lake, frost upon the fields, infinite sky. She awoke before the dawn, lit the fire with the remote control, and changed from bedclothes into ballet gown of such majesty as it should rival any wedding dress ever fabricated, and danced onto the terrace to awake daybreak. The leaves fell upon her, the cool air embracing her skin, the symphony of light, and the crimson fuchsia-etched clouds, the pewter gold of the forest, a feast for her vision alone.
Let's talk about the gay army. In postmodern, multi-ethnical society, we see a shift of gender roles from the passive-aggressive homosexual to the Bush-era consensual same-sex marital conscriptions in new tattooed uber-male identity.
The Swarovski crystal ball will drop tonight in Times Square to enter the new year.
Water Symphony of 92nd Street Y, broadcast live at 7 p.m. on WQXR.
The silver service arrived by servant, and she returned to her room to engage in the event of Epicurean delight. Effortlessly, she raised the resounding duomos of presentment to reveal Austrian delicacies and Bohemian tortas, commingled with vessels of cinnamon coffees and exotic teas. She simply required the best. Her daily bread was molded, as per her instructions, into exquisite musical instruments, which she disassembled with the knowledge of an old-world craftsman. The clarinet pastry would be accompanied by a mandolin brioche, and the strings assembled with saltwater taffy from the Atlantic. Her sugar cubes were not cubes at all. Nipples of Venus, nipples of Zeus, and other erotic aphrodisiacs, sesame cakes with tiramisu. Upon completion of the meal, she drank, to cleanse her tongue, rose water with pink lemons. She programmed her typical classical music, Vivaldi, as she mounted her high bicycle and rode the impeccable grounds for hours, listening intently to her MP3 player watch that was re-gifted to her from a rock musician legend, or so she was told. She perused the papers for antique furnishings on her iPhone, and then she text messaged her love. The geopositioning of her castle was fairly unique. She was on Google Earth alerts should any undesirable trespass onto her property, like the Queen of England or the Princess of Greece, arriving to apprehend her wardrobe, no doubt. She set her iPhone to vibrate for security reasons. Ah yes, surfing, the prerequisite for the day's activity. The interactive surf machine was her first line of work before her rehearsals with Cirque. Dressed in her lycra body glove, she arose barefoot upon the contraption, and with her belt clicked on the wall-sized plasma television set. Today, Gerard, we surf Mali. Big waves, very big waves.
Elvis Presley died today of complications in his Graceland home in Memphis, Tennessee. Please take a moment of silence. Remember the king.
Why deny the obvious child?
Small pants passenger jet crashed out of the Hudson River this afternoon. Emergency crews are on the scene.
Arcamax was watching her until she had them intercepted. Her tutor joined her for the midday meal of fruit crepes and daiquiris. She insisted. Tea sandwiches were banned from the kitchen. Apart from holidays, however, Christmas was coming. Her classical piano instructor, some ravishing Italian fellow from San Pellegrino, rolled out the digital keyboards on the dining table and asked her to play. All the keys were white. Can you imagine? Flowers, yes, flowers. The flowers arrived daily by messenger in sculpted pumpkin vases, a la, of course you all know. The arrangements were placed all about the chambers, the old flowers discarded to the servants after 24 hours. On certain occasions the flowers were artificial, but only during interim months when flowers were scarce. Today was a special day, the day she had waited for, her birthday, of course. Her birthday was the most miraculous day. The day in late October when the roads were at their greatest height of beauty. Today, he said, as you have asked, you shall receive. Her husband, the one mentioned earlier in the text, had sent her Levi's into outer space with a personal friend, an astronaut, and returned the clothing to her with badges from visitations to outer constellations. He had included some personal items from Victoria's Secret. This was her birthday wish. She was insistent that if she did not possess a walking stick from Jupiter, as did all his friends, she must settle with this wish instead. He, of course, was impetuous and forgetting.
One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
She thanked him as only she could do. She invented a perfume for him and had specialty stationery with this monogram printed on all natural paper from aquatic forest byproducts, with 18-karat gold lettering and a gold pen with gold ink from Cartier, with a built-in Rolex and travel-along digital readout, all custom-made for him in Geneva. She included an 18-karat gold matching Harley-Davidson that rode in both directions, from the not yet published 2006 Neiman Marcus Fantasy Gift Catalog. Needless to say, he was pleased. Then what happened? The wedding happened.
A diamond is forever. De Beers.
This was no ordinary wedding, I tell you. Now, you have heard of weddings of the Tsar, the royal weddings, and the weddings of Elizabeth Taylor. This was not that sort of wedding. No. They arrived at the church escorted by living angels carrying their harps and playing celestial music. It rained wishes the entire day. The spectators were enthralled. Together, dressed in Queen Anne's lace, they approached the steps of the church, and the bishop awaited them in all his finery.
Crazy Eddie, his prices are insane!
The audience was prepared as she floated down the aisle in a carpet of long hair flocati. There he beseeched her to his side. A heavenly chorus sang Mendelssohn pianissimo for nearly a quarter of an hour as the guests held hands in silent prayer. The bishop spoke and pronounced them man and wife. He kissed her hand, and the guests followed them out to the pavilion. The onlookers wept, throwing coins before their feet. The roads were littered in silver as far as the eye could see. Sovereigns of all nations were in attendance.
And today marks the official end of the Cold War. Statues of Lenin are being pulled down in cities throughout the Eastern Bloc.
It was true love.
Leonard Bernstein died at 72, conductor of the New York City Philharmonic.
Steven Seagal stars in Under Siege Part 2. The ultrasonic pet groomer, and if you buy one now, we will include a lifetime supply of Vice President Joseph Biden intends to send another 30,000 troops to Afghanistan.
QVC is just great for kids. Here we have a product eye clops. Infrared night vision goggles for your children. And take a look at the price. Our low price for you today, only $76.45.
And we have this just in. Paul McCartney will be performing live at the Grammy Awards.
Then the music played. The music filled the air as if you could touch it. The music of sincerity, the music of honesty, the music of faith. The instruments had not yet been invented, and the sound was audible only to those who had that faith, the faith in insurmountable futures. The marriage, you see, was designed in order that these instruments be built, for it was she herself who had them commissioned. Alas, that's quite another story, is it not? Hours later, the feast began, the feast to end all famine. The audience dined and imbibed themselves with fruit, wine, and delicacies. And they made their introductions to the nobles and good people alike.
Find your perfect mate at eharmony.com.
We really appreciate you coming out to the studio to talk with us here today, Mr. Cheney. This is Charlie Rose. Please join us again next time when we speak with Keith Richards, talking about his role as Captain Teague Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End.
You signed a contract worth $18 million, a chance with Magic. They face Orlando tonight in the last game of the playoffs. We expect to see Spike and Jack.
Master of Ceremonies then announced the time for dance. Dancing was a part of life in the village by the lake, and the dancing commenced. Night had fallen, and the pavilion floor illuminated with rays of light projecting from underneath as the guests whirled in syncopation throughout the evening. Cakes the size of mammoths were presented at the tables, and everyone ate heartily. The champagne fountains filled their glasses, and the Belgian chocolate hearts were filled with fortunes. There was never to be another event to duplicate their happiness until
AIG.
On certain occasions, he was brutally generous. His love showed no monetary boundaries. This particular autumn, he was to bestow upon her another of her secret desires. She had, as a child, always wished to view the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade from the vantage point of the massive windows looking onto Central Park from the dinosaur wing of the Museum of Natural History. Impossible, you say? Perhaps, but not for him.
Sex in the City is a poor man's soprano. Well, if this were my kid,
Sipping their pink champagne, cinnamon brandy toddies, they would gaze upon the majesty of the floating spectacular, clad in their respective designer tweeds, while reclining in their massage chairs. Theirs, however, was the massage love seat, of course. On very special occasions, she would dress for him in her ballerina tutu and choreograph epic ballets under the Pleistocene bones. While other men saw her as impetuous and eccentric, he indulged her quite to his benefit. It was she that insisted on the Gaultier beddings, and it was she who insisted on the Fabergé Christmas tree composed for them in exquisite cloisonné. It was she who would etch sand with a magnetic brush. It was she who superimposed the music of all composers with Mick Jagger to reinvent the music industry, especially the mix of God Save the Queen with the Apache riff. And when she invented those astral brooms made of gel worms, he knew.
innovative technologies. Where? Show me the technology, Don Ines. Come on, Don. You've been in this business for decades. You're driving a Dodge Durango, all-wheel drive with a built-in DVD player. Is that technology, Don?
The quality of the luxury cruise on the Rhone or the Danube is actually spectacular. Do the higher-priced cruises like the Amadeus Cruise Line offer land excursions? I can't imagine any more luxurious cruise than the one we were on. Caviar with every meal. But, Mr. Fromer, the Amadeus Symphony Orchestra?
Moon shoes. There's your technology, Don. Maybe a weekend at Virgin Galactica. The moon, Don, 40 years later, they're still talking about the moon. Kinetic environments, aquatic environments. But what about the Canadians, Don? Nobody talks about Canadian technology. For God's sakes, all I have to work here, Don, is CSI Miami. I'll move in with Peter Pan, okay? And since we're on the topic, what about the leprechauns of Africa, of African-American descent? No, I hate this music industry. Are we human or are we dancers? Come on, Don.
And what a ballerina she was. Pity ballet was never his strong suit. For she required someone with the most daring talents. A pas de deux with a superhero would be inadequate, for her dancing rivaled all worlds, new and young. They were, no, not interested in crowds. With 10 million people at his feet, he was swimming in fertility. They required no sounds. Surely the aerial view of the Snoopy and Underdog balloons were enough to captivate him. And what, indeed, of olive oil and SpongeBob? Whoa, not to have a cavalcade of flower balloons with the helium turkey?
10:10 WINS news time is 2:45 a.m. There is an expected 20-minute delay at the George Washington Bridge.
24 hours ago, I want to be sedated. Nothing to do, nowhere to go. I want to be sedated. Are these lyrics?
We're expecting 4 to 6 inches of snow cover for the evening.
These would surely be his questions, as questions this year were scarce. After all, it was her birthday. Cakes, runs, coffees, biscuits, American fare, chocolate-covered raisins. It was the popcorn that perplexed him, certainly. American corn, he would interject, is most curious. It's the most curious food among the North Americans, don't you agree? It's what they put on it, really. Sauteed in caramel, rolled in peanuts, marshmallow and macadamia nuts, white chocolate, pecans, and what of that cheese popcorn in the markets? White cheddar, Monterey Jack, and the British favorite, salt and vinegar. As always, the parade ended with Santa Claus upon his sled, with Dasher and Dancer and Prancer and Vixen and Comet Cupid, Donner and Blitzen. Who named those reindeer? It was the only question in the world that she had no conclusive answer to. She hesitated and said, who indeed? Mrs. Santa Claus or Robert Oppenheimer. I suspect Robert Oppenheimer in drag as Mrs. Santa Claus. Don't you agree? I venture that you might be right. It is the logical conclusion to a petty inquisitor. I don't see how Cupid falls into the category, though.
The trial of Saddam Hussein continues in Washington, D.C.
The question is, do classical Christmas carols offend people celebrating Kwanzaa and Hanukkah.
PalermoVacations.com is offering free round-trip tickets to Rome. Book no later than April 14th.
Introducing the Apple iPhone in a press conference today, Steve Jobs announced that
Without Cupid, we would never marry. Civilization is mostly based upon marriage. Perhaps Oppenheimer was preserving a civilization for as long as possible. In what year does civilization end, he asked her. The Swiss told us the answer she posed. The man who dominates all husbands and wives in a same-sex and dual-sex society becomes the ruler of all nations, hence controlling all economies. In what year then shall it end, my precious? It ends succinctly in 2040, she retorted. Not much time, I say. Not much time indeed.
National Treasure coming to your theater soon.
Gold Bond medicated itch cream for those sensitive areas of male itching.
I can't seem to forget you. Your wing song stays on my mind.
But who is the ruler of all nations? It is untold. Clark Gable fancied himself a player, but lost in the card game. Some say Julius Caesar will rise from the dead. Others say Aristotle Onassis is to blame. It's an existential question that cannot be answered outside of Germany, because the Germans invented existentialism. Or was it the French, she inquired. She reached for a cigarette, contemplating the 7 valises in the hallway, all Vuittons. She's packed and ready to go.
And what about those Norwegian apes? If you had made my movie instead of that creepy Predator versus Alien, you would have made the movie Planet of the Apes auto show during Arnold Schwarzenegger steals all the planes in the Air Force and visits Thailand. I made that movie with Woody Allen while you bastards at the CIA were sleeping.
So does, like, everybody, is anybody at Google Space? Because I think I'm the only one.
Where the hell is PJ O'Rourke? Another day at Lake Wobegon? How did that bozo get on the air? Michigan? No, Minnesota.
So, essentially what you're saying is that there's a third invisible spouse with hyper-technology married into each marriage. That was done in 1971. Yes, the wonders of television.
The band plays on Thanksgiving Day. The spectators are all snug in their faux furs and ski hats. Synthetic gloves and fleece this year. Boots, yes, boots. Their boots are from Hammacher Schlemmer and have electric linings that heat their toes. And don't forget the lifetime warranty.
Honey, can you grab the American Express gold card for my Prada bag?
Meanwhile, she was entertaining herself with the letters from her secret admirer that came printed on the Fin du Monde bottles, wrapped with the raffia packaging each week, that arrived with her orders from the Martha Stewart Living Online catalog, with the dark sateen hair and piercing blue eyes. Of course, her husband, he was perfect. Not one physical flaw, not one blemish, not one hair out of place. His hair, oh yes, his long brown hair cascaded down his back and stopped at his heart. His chest hair spiraled as she touched it at night with her fingernails until she fell asleep. His arm hair was masculine, his leg hair bold and reached out to her shaven velveteen legs as they entwined under the bed sheets. They had a double canopy bed, a bed designed for a king, with a floating bar hidden in the headboard. He sometimes wore a nightcap, the sort of Dickensian nightcap one reminisces about, without the pom-pom or the tassels. She was a lioness. She wore a faux leopard skin frock and earmuffs that matched. Her night shoes were very much the same, with huge leopard claws and paws. Her fingernails stretched over 10 inches in length. An immortal slumber was guaranteed as she slept with her fingernails buried in his thick chest hair, which I think he liked very much. Each and every night, which was their own ritual, he would say a silent prayer and kiss her on the forehead, saying, "Good night, my love."
Gallo, drink no wine before it's time. Gallo wine.
Calvin Klein obsession for men.
We're making the change to high definition digital in February, now June. These are audio and visual frequencies. The FCC is running our lives.
Is Van Halen overrated? Who's Van Halen?
They were, as we all know, inventors of some sort. What kind? Well, we'll just wait and see. To awake at dawn takes ingenuity, and that is indeed what he had. Their castle windows were replicas of cathedral vaults, and they had each window leaded to create an effect like that of an advent calendar reflected upon the stone floor. Each day of the month, a special device would open a window at the desired time he chose to wake. An ordinary grandfather clock would have sufficed. Tomorrow would be Friday, and they would see the dawn at 7 a.m. The window would open, it was November, late November, and the frost air would alight them, the brisk morning air. How marvelous. The servants were a lively bunch of renegades. While the masters slept, the servants played, and play they did. Cards, roulette, snooker, and indoor croquet for starts. Always betting against one another for their pay. They were pie makers, butchers, bakers, candlestick makers, soap makers, and wine makers besides. There were stable hands and silver polishers, woodsmen, dressmakers, and craftspeople. But her favorite person of all in the house was the keymaster. The keymaster filled with locks and bolts, doors and knobs, all throughout the day. If something didn't have a lock, he would construct one. He made keys for the doors, the pool, the stables, the sculptures, the Italian sculptures that she had brought from abroad. These were never ordinary.
Join us for our next episode of Antiques Roadshow.
He fashioned the keys on these sculptures to make the figures move part by part. Her last purchase was in oleo, and she had it shipped completely to her address in the village by the lake. The head, this Janus, was colossal in size and gesture. The size, as the servants described it, of 700 watermelons, 4 Volkswagen Beetles, 10,000 bottles of wine, or as the chef said, the size of 5,000 giant turkeys. Well, as you might have guessed, there was no real way to describe how big it was. It took 20 men to maneuver it. It was presently given to the keymaster. The keymaster whittled, he carved, he tinkered. Soon this Janus, a monstrous head of an Italian king on one side, and a 3-headed falcon on the other, was conveyed to a carousel, a turnabout. He was handsome, he was striking, he was beyond perfect. It was an anniversary gift to him, and the servants glimpsed into the workshop throughout the months to see what exactly the keymaster was doing. The keyholes were being drilled, the cogs were being fitted, the gears were grinding, his oil cans were being refilled. One by one, the keyholes appeared. They decided to give the statue a name. They felt that Janus was too premature. Instead, she named him. We shall call him Zeus. Zeus it is, madam. Zeus's first key was a success, for this key moved his eyelid, which blinked when the key was turned. The next key was for his hair, which changed style each day for the 7 days of the week. The following keys turned, moving Zeus's teeth, his beard, his strange moustache, which was very strange indeed. Next was a key for his sideburns, and a last key for his mouth. The keyhole for his mouth was large, and when you peered into it, you could see fancy. Inside the keyhole was a kaleidoscope of hundreds of swirling colors, making patterns of beauty unknown to human eyes.
And the Giants come back in 12 seconds to win the Super Bowl!
The following months were more impressive. Now the keys were constructed for the 3-headed falcon. Perhaps this was more difficult. Should the falcon fly, the head may go with. When the wings extended, Zeus's hair grew around its feathers, concealing them beneath. The keymaster tinkered, and the keys within the wings multiplied. It was a Medusa of male origin. Zeus's head was a feast of wings that resembled an American Indian in the Northwest. Strange it was, and the falcon's 3 heads grew to the size of Zeus's. How remarkable, she said to the keymaster. This is a masterpiece. When will it be ready for him? Your anniversary is next month, milady, and I believe it shall be completed in 1 month's time. I must take my leave this weekend to rest my hands, said the keymaster. How many keys are there in all, she asked. You have done such thorough work. In total, I think there are 4,000 keys. Each key is unique to its purpose. A presentation such as this will require a proper box. I make for town this afternoon, and there I shall have a box commissioned for your James. Very well, she said. In 3 weeks' time, the keymaster returned with the key box. It was prepared by the walking stick maker of the village, and it was radiant, bejeweled in abalone and mother of pearl.
Mrs. Bush has decided to save the environment by wearing artificial pearls during her public appearances.
But there was another matter at hand. The secret admirer would arrive the day after tomorrow. How would this be on the week of their 8th anniversary, the secret admirer?
Every piece of mail is scanned by the FBI. We're talking about civil liberties. This redefines the medium. Which one of you is going to buck the system? And by the way, did everyone get that email from the King of Nigeria?
He wrote this day to say he would be arriving to meet her at the place where they had met 5 years ago and had a romantic affair by a black Lamborghini. The servants were nervous. They always read his letters to her before she received them. Mr. Nonchalance, Mr. Piercing Blue Eyes and Raven's Hairdo. He was coming to the village by the lake. And did he know? Of course not. He knew nothing. Even his Lamborghini had wings. She liked that. He had a certain je ne sais quoi. Handsome? Oh, yes. More than most, really. What he really did for a living was anybody's guess. He was a mystery to most.
Pause for a moment for this week's segment of Russian Communist Good Housekeeping.
His car was brimming with presents and flowers, all for her. Did he suspect? No, not at all. 2 men wrapped around her finger while the townspeople gossiped. He was smart, very smart. He gave her a kiss, then he gave her the case, the Russian cigarette case with the digital photos of them together. She was a smoker? No, only on rare occasion. And she would do well to conceal it from him. A playboy, yes, at least by description. An Italian, the worst sort. Dressed like a wolf, no ordinary wolf. He looked like a wolf. His Italian sunglasses were pink. His custom-made suit of salmon skin from Denmark, pink. Nice, really. He was moving into town by the lake, or so it was said, looking for a place to settle down. To settle down with her, she jumped into his pink, winged Lamborghini with a sunroof. Disgrace, blasphemy.
Due to the infinite requests, the Nordic Sperm Bank in North California will only be accepting applications from lesbian married couples.
And on digital typography, those old-style typefaces are reminiscent of the humanist calligraphy from which their forms were first derived.
The genetic engineers were right. They knew everything. He was a genetic engineer, a builder of monsters, I should say. God knows what he had created, but did she know? To her, he was a botanist, a surveyor of rose gardens, an herbalist, a tea maker. Undoubtedly, he told her he had hybridized a species of rose only for her. It would take her a name. How romantic, how consuming. God knows he brought her enough of them. Of course, it was sky blue, the sky blue rose. Her signature rose, created for her by him.
The never-ending story continues.
The enchanted adulteress arrived with her lover at Linderhof late in the afternoon. He was debonair. Yes, he was excited. Yes, and he was rich. To him, she was an innocent azurian rose with an aquamarine stemmed, hunter green forest waiting to be discovered, and he would find her.
Johann Strauss did not live in the Roach Motel in Germany. His symphonies were taken very seriously in Vienna, at least. Meanwhile,
The adulteress was happy with her mystery man from the United Nations Cirque Mondiale Liaison Secret. Their affair was discreet, but not too onlookers. The worst sort. The keymaster was designing the next key for Zeus. By this time, Zeus was enormous, almost colossal, with the gears and mechanisms necessary to activate his motion. Zeus resembled a machine himself. The keymaster was pleased with his work as work progressed. He was going to need music composition. He was going to need windpipes, steam turbines, and metals. The cogs on Zeus were not circles but triangles, and this had not been done before. Day after day he toiled. Tomorrow, he said, we shall begin the feast.
YouTube was not designed to fuel sites like Japanese PO Vision. I intend to sue the Tokyo news bureaus for fireworks continue in China celebrating the entrance of the Year of the Ox. This is CBS News work.
Are you the victim of identity theft?
The polls indicate that Oprah Winfrey is confirmed as the richest woman in the United States.
Let's talk about ringtones.
She's meeting with Secretary of State Hillary Clinton at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel this afternoon.
Even Howard Stern knows that Germany did not have a coastline until 1997. It's like a scene in the Borat sequel where Borat visits London with his wife of African-American descent. Borat.com. Check out the trailer.
Pfeffernuss with cherries in Dom Perignon. Thomas Kincaid holly wreaths and mistletoe. Had she forgotten anything? Christmas was now coming and Zeus was still in progress. The Phoenix was now under construction, with several craftsmen to design and redesign the majesty of the creature. The 6 wings moved both in unison and in syncopation, and when in action, the rear wings would envelop Zeus and conceal him from sight.
Voldemort, the winged animal now. But that's where the vampires begin. You're at a loss, are you not?
Your analysis of Harry Potter is Beavis.
The script would work, lady, if they Voldemorted the owls.
Several years passed and she decided to keep their love affair a secret. Now, with 4 fine young men around her, they were safe in their haven on the lake. Her job was forging keys for Zeus with the keymaster, and for the door to her house with Karl Marx's head motioning from left to right, day in and day out.
The question is the Barack Obama honeymoon already over?
Their love ended all politics, communism, socialism, fascism, and futility. She made her money in the stock market, so they say. That night she found the keymaster, and he had completed the task. She approached the workhouse slowly and gently opened the door to find the creation she had commissioned. Zeus was unspeakable, yet he spoke. And when he spoke, she believed that the keymaster was the answer to all futures. And it was there in the house on the lake that new life was born again to renew the past and born to reinvent the present. To this day, Zeus still stands. And as you can imagine, her husband became the greatest man in our time, as is the story with all great men. As for the wolf, most say he returned to Italy a rich man. A woman's love is the triumph of war. The child is born, she shall be king.
The scene ends as the house lights fade on the butler's last entry, while it remains on stage as a spotlight on his writing implement. The end. Oh, wait, could we introduce the actors? I'm sorry, I was going to do that before. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Oh, John Lefevre.
Adele Calvert-Vecchio.